All right, what is going on, Banter fam? Welcome in to the Wednesday edition of In the Game. I am your host, Hustle, and we are heading into the Metaverse. Y'all need some. I absolutely love this tweet. This came out this morning. Lil Moon Lambo on Twitter. Great meme account. And heading into the Metaverse. Y'all need some. And today we are definitely heading into the Metaverse. And we're going to dig deep into just continuous interest. I said it yesterday. It feels like every single day I'm bringing you a new corporation, a new conglomerate, or a new company that's getting involved in the metaverse. And today is nothing short of that. So we're going to take a look at where this industry can go, the money that's coming into this industry, and what real world industries right now, like real estate, for example, can we compare the metaverse to a potential future valuation. So we're really diving deep into metaverse today. So without further ado, let's get in the game.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
If you ain't here to hustle, why is you here? But if you here to hustle, the moon is near. It's crypto Banter, not financial advice. If you don't listen, what's the cost, what's the price? This ain't a game, put you on game. I know you don't play, but ain't a percent. If you ain't here to hustle, why is you here? But if you here to hustle, the moon is near. It's crypto Banter, not financial advice. If you don't listen, what's the cost, what's the price? This ain't a game, put you on game. I know you don't play, but ain't a play. If you get lost, show you the way.
All right, so let's get into it. And a couple of headlines today. This was on Cointelegraph this morning about how Vulcan Forge was rallying after their virtual land sales. So they put a few plots up for auction, which ended up going for pretty solid prices, as well as their Elysium blockchain testnet. And as you see here, their Elysium testnet is live. And if you go, they are teasing once again, as I mentioned earlier in the week, their Vulcan forged nodes, where you need PYR. It generates lava, and you earn from the usage of the Elysium blockchain within the Vulcan Forge ecosystem. So I really am excited for that. Like, I'm going to get involved into these ecosystem of nodes with Vulcan Forge because I think what they're building is only going to grow, and the games in development plus the games already available are getting great in-game action. The land plots have done amazing numbers, so I think it's an ecosystem worth getting involved in. So keep your eyes out for the Vulcan Forge nodes. And of course, I will bring you any updates as they come along. Another project we've been following very closely and very lucrative economy for those involved, and that's Pegaxy. They are teasing their upcoming event for Valentine's Day, which is the Valentine's breeding event. Makes sense. Valentine's and breeding, I guess they go together. But Valentine's breeding event. And as you see, you'll probably be able to either have maybe a discounted breed or maybe it breeds you a specific type of horse. So we'll see what the Pegaxy team has up their sleeve here. But a good event coming around the corner. And as you see, we'll hold a breeding event in the celebration of the Love Month. Details to come. And even with the market right at this moment, kind of taking a little bit of it's a red day right now, I guess. You know, Bitcoin's down relative to yesterday. And as we're looking at it right now, the Vigorus token, VIS, the in-game earnings token, is saying, you know what? I don't care about Bitcoin. I don't care about the market. Up 17% still in the last 24 hours, almost at 25 cents for the Vigorus token. This is insane, honestly. And where this is moving, you have to expect an eventual dip, guys. It's not always the in-game earnings aren't just going to keep going up and up with this token. So always, play your risk appropriately. But the in-game earnings in this economy right now are driving up like crazy. So that's awesome to see for those involved in Pegaxy. But let's get into some metaverse news. And, a couple of headlines today that Saudi Arabia is going to replicate its $500 billion city Neo-M on the metaverse. So that's just the start of not only institutions and not only businesses. We're talking about, countries, governments potentially building stuff within the metaverse. I've explained how education could get into the metaverse. Things like this will be moving into this space. And if you don't believe me, Disney is hiring an NFT experts to lead their efforts in the space. So imagine all your favorite NFT or all your favorite Disney characters, right? Maybe your daughter or your son loves a Disney character. You can get them, and it's as crazy as this sounds today, you can get them an NFT of their favorite Frozen character or their favorite character in a different world within Disney. That is potentially has a huge market. Digitalization of these things, because as I've mentioned before, parents give their kids iPads these days as pacifiers, right? I know firsthand. I have two nieces and a pretty large family that I see. When the kids are around, they're very, "Mom, can I use your phone?" or "Can I have my iPad?" So that's the type of generation that we're moving towards. So these things are going to become digitalized. So an NFT expert may be in Disney video games or mobile apps, stuff like that. So the biggest institutions in the world are showing interest in NFT and Metaverse. And as I've talked about, this is the next social media type of movement across the world, which this trend is about to repeat because Zuckerberg, like I've mentioned, was the first mover. Morgan Stanley says that the Metaverse will be an $8 trillion market that will replace the mobile internet. That is so bold. So we're looking at an $8 trillion projection for the Metaverse market. And Metaverse real estate sales are already topping $500 million, guys, and projected to double this year. So we're looking at a projected $1 billion spent on real estate sales in the Metaverse in this upcoming year. And this was just published yesterday. So this is brand new information. Topped 500 million. There are risks, but potentially huge rewards. And as so far, it says that real estate sales have been concentrated on the big four: Sandbox, Decentraland, Crypto Voxels, and Somnium. So very good to see. And, this market is just getting started. And if you compare that to the real life real estate market, so Morgan Stanley says this is an $8 trillion industry in the making. Well, the market size of the real estate market, the global real estate investment market, increased from 9.6 trillion to 10 trillion in 2020. So if you're looking at, the market potential here, we're looking at an established industry that has taken hundreds of years to develop. Real estate's been around for, forever, to be honest. Land ownership has never not been a thing. And whenever you look at this market, $10 trillion market in 2020. If the Metaverse evolves anything close to that, you're in so early on this wave, as we see here, with the Metaverse estimated to be an $8 trillion market that will replace the mobile internet. So if we were to grow anywhere close to the real estate market, that would be absolutely insane. And as I showed yesterday, the teaser of Phantasma's Metaverse meeting, so businesses can move their meetings into the Metaverse. So this is actual footage of their meeting. So they're actually here in the Metaverse, like at a boardroom table, but they're not together. So you can just put on the headset and you're actually in the Metaverse. And here they are actually changing their scenery. And then they go into like a more city office. Very cool features that businesses can kind of utilize here in the Metaverse. Eat your heart out at Zoom, at Microsoft Teams. So I kind of love the shot here too, that they kind of took it centralization. Like, this is the future. These meetings in the Metaverse are going to be amazing. And we already have sports teams. So the NFL showed interest earlier this week. We have the Brooklyn Nets with a Metaverse experience to be able to watch games. It's basically like you're on the court. You're basically at referee level. You're basically at the position that a referee would be on the floor. So this is very, very cool technology that some of the biggest brands, institutions, and sports teams and leagues are getting involved in across the world. We already see these fan tokens in crypto. So these fan tokens of like these soccer clubs or football clubs internationally, things like that are going to pop up way more in the Metaverse, in the NFT space, when more teams adapt technology just like this. So let's kind of just take a look at where the market is. So we have, the Sandbox right now is an $11 billion project. We have Decentraland at a $5 billion valuation. So, some of these top projects, their valuations are pretty healthy. But then you have the undervalued metaverses that I've already talked about, like Network at about a $200 million valuation. And we've spoke about what they're building. I've shown the high class assets, the yachts and stuff like that. And as you see, their world is broken up into different districts. You have the creative district, the entertainment district, the education district, the business district, and the adult district. So there's definitely something in network for everybody, which I definitely love. And I like Solice. It's a little under $1 billion fully diluted market cap. I think this is the sharpest looking metaverse on Solana by far. But what are some other potential metaverse plays that you can look for that are out there? Whether it's, and I'm not telling you to buy tokens. That's the one thing. I'm classifying these different projects for you and giving you all the information available because these projects are going to set the tone for the future. These top metaverse projects are leading the way. So when you're looking across the board, we've really talked about these projects a lot, like Sandbox and Decentraland. I've mentioned Network. I've mentioned Solice. So what are the other metaverse plays that you could potentially look towards for future land or maybe in the future token investment that I haven't covered yet on the channel? And let's start with Wilder World. So Wilder World right now is about $140 million market cap and about an $850 million fully diluted. So it's right around the same valuation as Solice. But when you look at Wilder World, I think that the world that they're building and the scope of it does look super sharp. So their Wilder Wheels, as you see, are a 5D NFT vehicle collection to race in the metaverse. And they're not just talking about some generic race mechanism, right? They already have this thing kind of built out, and it looks super sharp. There's actually not even a racing game out there that I would put up against this. Like, this looks like the sharpest racing game that there is. And this would just be one part of their universe. So this would be the Wilder Wheels, for example. This definitely looks very, very good. If the driver, wasn't drunk, they need to pull him over and cite him because he is definitely drunk driving right now. But regardless, this looks really, really clean. And I think that if they nail this, that this could be huge. And if you look in the background there, that little structure, that's actually the Wilder World cribs. So that's actually where you would have your like apartment or condo or your kind of like your space, right? So that would be your Wilder World cribs. They're about to start the race here. And honestly, like I mentioned, man, this driver, they really can't put it together. But this really looks like the sharpest racing game on the blockchain. And this would just be one dimension of the world. But when you take a look at all things encompassed, I like this thread right here. It kind of describes what they're going for. They're going for that more cultural appeal, because what I think people are not looking at in metaverses, and one thing I've tried to point out, is I think network has a lot of appeal because of the class of assets, right? You're not buying a land plot or you're not buying something that's like boring, right? Their world is going to encompass a lot of different things. You can have speed bikes, you can have cyber trucks, stuff like that, stuff you want to get involved in a virtual world. So when you're looking at Wilder World, for example, they're really focused on culture. So I think people overlook, when you get involved in a virtual world, you want to be immersed in that culture. You want to be a part of it, where NFTs, you can kind of show off your NFTs, or everything is just kind of modernized in a world that you want to be in. So one of their worlds is actually called Wyoming, kind of a spin on a Miami. And as you see, they're designing some of the most impressive photorealistic art, but they're also designing the world full of culture, which I absolutely love. They have a partnership for art exhibits, including Beeple's first 5,000 days. And as you see here, they're also partnered with COINMarketCap. They're going to bring an educational platform to the metaverse in Wilder World with the Library of Alexandria, which is a COINMarketCap library for education. So a lot going on in the Wilder World metaverse. And as I teased, this is kind of what the cribs look like. So this would be like kind of where you would have an apartment or a condo or whatever you want to term it. So that structure in the background, whenever we were showing the racing, you could actually see this in the background. This would be kind of like your home, as they call it, the Wilder World cribs. And I believe at the end, they actually use the MTV cribs a little backdrop. But yeah, these would be like your views. You have amazing views, a little bit of nature on your pad there. So very, very cool concept. And they've really been just kind of building. They're really working towards getting this thing built out. And the team behind it's very vocal, very active. And I like what they're building. As you see, their kicks, rare 5D metaverse ready kicks. They have their cribs, they have their land, and they have guild capabilities. So this is definitely one to keep your eyes out for. And I don't think the fully diluted valuation is too much. Like, when you're looking at these other metaverse projects, like Decentraland at $6 billion, Sandbox at 11 billion. We have like Blocktopia, for example. I believe it is at a few billion. Yeah, $6 billion market cap. These projects, in my opinion, look sharper. They look better when you're talking like Network, or you're talking about Wilder World, for example. So take a look at the valuations and figure out which metaverse plays might be a little undervalued. And maybe you can try to get involved in those economies or those tokens if you do your own research and you choose to do so. And I've emphasized, I'm trying to carve things out for you in different niches. So we've talked about infrastructure. We've talked about metaverses. We've talked about guilds, and we've talked about games. So all of these classify in that top left category of metaverses. But this is kind of like how you would want to map out your risk reward and your portfolio, right? You don't want to go all into guilds. You don't want to go all into games, for example. You want to make sure that your risk tolerance is appropriate. But these are the four main categories that I am trying to isolate for the viewer. And let's get into the next project, and that's Victoria VR. And their product itself looks absolutely amazing. I'm going to be honest. You take a look at their world, and as they say, where your imagination is the only limitation. Like the art looks great. The world that they're trying to build out, they're using the top tier technology in the space. They're on Unreal 5. They're powered by Intel, NVIDIA, etc. They have Alienware high power or high performance systems, as they say. So very, very top tier partnerships in the space, and immerse yourself in the world's first realistic metaverse. So they'll use the 3D software from Unreal Engine. And this is kind of a map out of what Victoria VR is going to kind of look like from a glance. So this would be kind of like their structure and their land. So definitely something to keep an eye out. And the key highlights and capabilities in their metaverse, right? So you're going to be able to play little mini games and do different things, kind of like in the sandbox. So people will be able to build out their own little mini games in the sandbox. You could potentially do that in Victoria VR as well. You'll be able to kind of have like you can be a merchant. You can buy and sell goods and services. You can watch sports events. You can create your own games, as mentioned. Visit virtual galleries, which I would assume are NFT galleries and stuff like that. And they're trying to attract businesses like realtors, businesses, concert agencies, and stuff like that. So all that utility that I've been talking about into the metaverse, this is what they're trying to bring into the metaverse, right? That's like their focus. They're trying to bring artists and advertising agencies. Because if you think about it, a lot of businesses, and I've mentioned this before, they're going to literally get into the metaverse and put advertising up immediately. And that's it. Some companies might not go even further on the start. They'll just put up a billboard or put up a little sharp looking structure that kind of advertises their business. But going forward, these conglomerates and these corps are going to build out literal headquarters that their communities can interact in the metaverse. And that's what Victoria VR is trying to attract. And you take a look, their most recent partnership, you can't help but love. So Victoria VR is now partnered with Dell. And as you see, the best metaverse needs the best technology partner. And now it has it, as they've created a partnership with Dell to make the most of advanced game development studios to make Victoria VR one of the most advanced game development studios in the world, and one of the leading metaverse creators. So that's awesome to see. And when you look at institutional interest, Dell is right up there in that top tier. So we're looking at the same level as, honestly, like Microsoft. I mean, Dell's kind of below Microsoft just a little bit with their acquisition, especially recently, of Activision. But when you look at Dell's valuation, super top tier partnership for Victoria VR. And this is kind of early stage, but you can, and it's kind of like a month or two old. This is pre-alpha, but this is kind of like the VR experience you can expect. You can see you're kind of entering what looks to be like your apartment, and it kind of cuts off here and shows development. So that's kind of just like a preview of the world they're building. So you can kind of see it looked pretty sharp. And as far as virtual reality goes, guys, this is so early. So when you're judging a project, you need to kind of take a step back. VR is in its very early stages. And I think that you need to be realistic with these projects. Any early footage you see, you need to let them build. I would definitely say, anything that gets put out in the next couple months that claims to be a metaverse, it really isn't a metaverse, right? Like, it needs to be more diverse and immersive for the player and for the user. And I think that's exactly what like Wilder World and Victoria VR are trying to build. The one caution on Victoria VR is that diluted market cap. You cannot help but that definitely sticks out when you're looking at a $6 billion valuation. So all I would say here is be careful, because this is, touching those levels of like a Blocktopia type of diluted, where you're at 5 billion, 6 billion level. And you just need to be careful with that. So the Dell news is definitely baked into the valuation already. But these are different metaverse projects that are setting the tone in the space. And these are ones I haven't talked about on the show yet. And I think they definitely need to at least be on your radar. Because when land sales come across and different opportunities come across, you will be well versed in your tool belt with all the information to make your own decisions and see which metaverses you want to get involved in. And then I will say my honorable mention for the show today, I'm not going to go too far into it, but that's MetaHero. And MetaHero used to have the same token issue that Victoria VR did, in my opinion, where their diluted was just too large. The diluted at one point was just way overshadowing the normal market cap. But MetaHero now is kind of straightened out a little bit. We're looking at a $250 million versus a $500 million fully diluted. And MetaHero is kind of a concept where you scan yourself into the metaverse in some sort of way, and you actually use your real life figure inside of the metaverse is kind of the concept here. And I'll dig more into this in the future because I want to move on to the next topic after the metaverse. But they kind of, they're kind of doing a mix of everything. And the real concept that they're going for is the 3D scan process of putting yourself into the metaverse. So we'll cover this project more in depth in the future. But those are more metaverses. And I would say that would recap the metaverses as of this moment that I think you need to keep your eyes on and that are setting the trend, right? So we're looking at the Sandbox, Decentraland, Network, Solice, Wilder World, Victoria VR, even MetaHero. If they can build this out right here, it looks super impressive, right? So keep your eyes on all of these, keep them on a list and categorize them. Like I said, I'm trying to niche this down as much as possible to make it as easy as possible to understand. So I'm not throwing you a game and a guild and an infrastructure play and a metaverse all in one bunch. I'm trying to isolate these things so we kind of know what to expect in each niche. And there is a big risk in metaverse investing. Some of these metaverses could completely flop. So you need to weigh your risk and bank on teams and partnerships in the space that look good and that are producing quality. So pay close attention in this space and you'll be able to find these gems before they get to these valuations. But definitely when you're looking across the board, like Network, Wilder World, very, very value levels. If you're talking about their valuations, very healthy. And then I want to switch gears. So we've given Pegaxy a ton of shine recently, and rightfully so, because Pegaxy's earnings in the game, like we had the show this morning where people were calling in, and it was just amazing to hear someone, basically like, I'm making this much a day on Pegaxy, and like that's amazing. The fact that we're able to get people in on these opportunities. So DeRace is a budding game. And I talk about a budding game. They've had hype behind it for a long time, and I love this project. And their beta is live right now for horse owners. So if you own a horse, you can actually get in there and start racing right now. And DeRace has really, the valuation on DeRace used to be mid-$100 million market cap or more. So the market cap valuation with the tumble of the market has taken quite a fall. And if you look at all-time highs, we were in the mid $7 to low $8 ranges here on DeRace. And it's really just kind of gotten its shine stolen recently from Pegaxy, but it's so quality, the quality of game that DeRace has at the moment. So Pegaxy's game super simulation based, and not that DeRace's isn't, but it's just literally images on a screen moving. When you look at DeRace, it's actually the imagery. It's actually the graphics at the moment. So when you look, it's actually like you're at the track, you're sitting in the stands at the Derby, and you're watching your horses perform in your horse race in these different competitions. And eventually they're going to come out with their hippodromes, which will basically be their own built-in bookmaking capabilities to where you would earn fees on the bets and the entries and stuff like that in the metaverse of DeRace. So that would be the conceptual thought behind the hippodromes. So those will come in the future. They just introduced a different type of breeding as well. You can now rent your DeRace horses. So I will be testing out this economy as always. I will try to see what is the best approach? The one thing I have definitely noticed, the quality of your horse definitely matters. So there's different tiers. There's like demigod, alpha, omega, beta. I would definitely say the higher ranked horse that you have, they definitely perform much better. So keep that in mind. It is definitely more, if you're willing to spend more, you might get a little better performance out of your horse. But right now, I've really enjoyed it. It's definitely fun. There's an entry fee for a small amount of DERC every single match. So I wonder if that's going to be the long-term play or if it's just going to be for the beta. Because if you drive too much of a barrier to entry, players might not get involved at the level of certain games. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking to get involved in DeRace, you would have to buy a horse, and you would also need to pay the entry fees per race. So just keep that in mind. But I love this project, and I'm excited to see whenever everything rolls out, the hippodromes and the rental system gets much more built out and we kind of established, right? What's the market for DeRace rentals? So we need to kind of let that mature and see what's the proper value to rent it out for to a potential scholar or a potential player to use it for you. So I think it's very, very good to take a look at these different economies. And you take a look at the prize pools, 45 DeRace, 45 DeRace, 34 DeRace, with different variations of entry fees. So we'll see how this goes for DeRace, but I definitely have had a good time. And it's a lot more fun to watch the race from this perspective, I would say, than where Pegaxy is at the moment. We all know Pegaxy is building out their 3D game. And the only reason, it's hard not to compare them, right? They're both horse racing games, horse racing play to earn games. They're naturally going to be kind of head to head. And I think that they both have their pros and cons. And right now, the gameplay features of DeRace probably trump where Pegaxy is. I would definitely say the economy purposes, Pegaxy isn't just leading DeRace. Pegaxy is just leading the entire space. But where DeRace is relative to value right now, I think that this is pretty bottom looking for DeRace, if I had to say so myself. And if you're going to scoop up a project that's about to start unrolling more within their economy, this is definitely where to look. And then last, to close the show out, just wanted to take a look at a couple of upcoming launches here on Seedify. So we have this Bullieverse project coming out, Battleverse, Altavo, which looks interesting, and I'll cover this coming up because it comes out in 15 days. We have Toyoverse. We have some solid-looking projects coming up. And today I kind of just wanted to highlight Bullieverse. It's a fantasy metaverse where you can play games, create experiences, and earn rewards. Their NFT collection's already live on OpenSea. These are kind of different sceneries you can see within the metaverse here. Just a couple screenshots of early development. And as you see, you're able to create things. So you can create your own structures. It's like a sandbox kind of economy. And when you say it's a sandbox game, we're not referring to the sandbox. When I say a sandbox game, that is a style of game where you can build up your own creations. So this is the type of metaverse that Bullieverse is trying to build. It will be play to earn, create to earn, where you craft your own experience. And there is DAO governance. Like I mentioned, their NFTs are already live on OpenSea. But if you take a look, this is their main attraction. So the mini games right now within their economy, they're coming out with the bear hunting game, the featured game right now, where basically as the bull, you go out in the wild and you're ready to fight the bears because we don't want the bears, we want the bulls. And as you see, they have hooves in the hoop. So it looks like they're building out a basketball game here, as well as Bull Run. Looks like a marathon track and field type of game. So this project looks pretty sharp and one that I'll be keeping my eyes on. And as far as Seedify launches, I think this is the sharpest one upcoming, in my opinion. But that's going to wrap it up for today's show, guys. I really wanted to just cover Metaverse and just the amount of interest once again. I feel like it's every single day. I'm bringing you a different headline. The Morgan Stanleys, the Disneys, as you see Saudi Arabia replicating a $500 billion city in the metaverse. So much interest and so much money is coming into this market. And I just want to kind of open your mind to what these economies that we will be getting involved in the metaverse are going to look like in the future. So I'm going to get out of here, guys. Like the video if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel for more In the Game every single weekday here at 1:30 Eastern Time. I am host Hustle. I'll be back tomorrow. Play well, my friends. Headed to the metaverse. Y'all need something?
I think I need a horse.
Doesn't matter which horse. Give me a horse.
Any horse.